This is a really hard video to make, and I know it might get me a lot of hate on here, but I absolutely regretted getting my dog. And for the longest time, I thought about and even tried to return him back to the breeder. Now, for those of you who have seen my videos, you know that Spike is my first ever dog, my first ever pet, really. And I actually have a video on the channel of the day that we picked him up and brought him home from the breeder. But I didn't grow up with dogs. In fact, in my culture, dogs were often feared because the ones that we would see back home on the streets, they could be aggressive. And in hindsight, I mean, those dogs on the streets had been through so much. But growing up, I wasn't allowed to have a dog. And in fact, my parents had said that once I move out, I could do whatever I wanted, but I could not have a dog as long as I lived under the roof. So as soon as I moved out, I looked into getting a dog, and that's how I came across Spike's breeder. Now, Spike was one of 8 puppies in his litter, and despite never having seen him in person, I had only seen photos of the puppies in the litter. I knew that Spike was the dog that I wanted. This is going to sound shallow, but I wanted a male puppy, and he was the cutest puppy of the litter. In fact, I had screenshotted his picture and put it as the background of my phone, like on my lock screen, and I would look at it 100 times a day. At the time, obviously, he did not have a name. He was just called Blue Boy because every dog had a different colored collar around their neck. And he had the color blue, and I still have that collar, and it was adorable. But I genuinely believe I manifested this boy. And then when we went to pick him up, he was miraculously still available. I mean, we were the 4th family on the wait list, but the first family wanted a female. The second family, I guess something came up and they didn't show up. And the third family chose a different dog. So miraculously, Blue Boy was still available. And when we went into the breeder's house and I saw him, I was just so beyond happy. I knew that was the dog that I wanted. Now, were there red flags? Yes. Did I absolutely ignore all of them? Yes. I think I looked at some of those red flags and questioned, is it really red? Could it be beige? Could it be orange? But, in hindsight, they were red flags. The first red flag is he was way more into my boyfriend at the time, who I had gone to the breeders with. Like, he was giving me mediocre attention, but he really liked my boyfriend because he was seeking that playful energy and just somebody that would chase him around. The second red flag, or beige flag, because he's actually perfect. But the second thing that I needed to take a little bit more seriously was that after 30 minutes of playing with all of the puppies, they all passed out. Like, they were so tired. The only one running around was Blue Boy, was Spike. He was just looking for anyone or anything that would play with him. So clearly, he was a very, very high energy puppy. And I, as a person, I'm not super high energy. So right off the bat, like, that was an indicator that I should have paid a little bit more closer attention to. And if you're ever in this position, I would say knowing whether a dog is a good fit for you or not is by trying to read his energy and seeing if you're able to match that. Now, despite all of these signs, of course, he was Blue Boy and I really wanted Blue Boy. So we chose him and we brought him home. And the first week or so, he was pretty quiet. He was shy. But by the second week, his true side came out. His energy levels spiked. He was just essentially crazy. You know how they say dogs need like 16 to 18 hours of sleep their first few months? This boy did not need the sleep. And of course, if that energy isn't channeled properly, it leads to destruction. So he would rip my stuff, he'd steal things and force me to chase him. He'd scream and bark if he wasn't getting what he wanted. I can't tell you how difficult it was to curb his separation anxiety. I literally have an entire video on that because there are so many different techniques and resources and tools that we had to use to be able to work on that and minimize his anxiety. He would chew on my walls and my baseboard. I could not leave him alone for a second. My neighbors would complain about him crying. Security was always at my door because he would scream if I tried to crate train him. So it was a lot. It became very, very overwhelming. I mean, even when we went on walks, because that was a good way to redirect his energy. But despite, like, we would go on walks 5, 6 times a day when we were potty training, but he would constantly try to jump on people as soon as he saw a person, he had to pull me and take me to them and jump on the person, even if the person made no eye contact with him whatsoever. My point is, it was overwhelming. And I knew having a dog would be a lot of work. Like, I was that crazy person who watched every single YouTube video out there. I had researched the breed. I had read over a dozen books. I had talked to different trainers. I had signed him up for different training sessions. Like, I had done my research, but I had no idea how unprepared I actually was. So yeah, I struggled. I mean, there were days where I would just break down. Like, Spike would be in his crate crying and screaming, and I just sit next to him crying with him. There were some tough days. I think for the first 6 months or so, I couldn't leave the house, or if I had to leave, I'd have to sneak out of the house, make sure he was really sleeping and didn't hear me leave. It required a lot of planning in advance. And I think the biggest challenge throughout all of it was that I had to do it on my own. If I had a partner who helped out with some of the training, or who, took out Spike for even 2 or 3 of those potty breaks, or just sat there and watched him while I went and bought groceries, like, any of that would have been really helpful. But I was on my own and I didn't have the support. So by month 2 or 3, I started to consider maybe this isn't something I can keep doing. I mean, despite spending months with him, I still hadn't really formed any connection with him. Like, you hear these stories about people immediately bonding with their dog, and despite having spent months with Spike, I felt like we still hadn't really connected. Like, I didn't get him, he didn't get me. There was just no strong bonding. So I started looking online to see if other people were going through something similar. And honestly, not many people talked about it. Like, the terminology was out there, it was called like puppy blues. But nobody was writing or making videos or talking about returning their dog. Honestly, I felt ashamed. Like, there are people getting dogs every day and they seem to be doing so well and seem to be such great dog parents. And how was I struggling so hard? It felt very isolating, and I felt very alone. Now, this is terrible, but in the back of my mind, I kept thinking, did I pick the wrong puppy? The day we went to the breeder to select our dog, there was another puppy there who, she was the youngest of the litter, but she was just so adorable and she loved me. Like, she kept coming on my lap. She was around me the entire time, and we just really connected. She also was the runt of the litter. She was sold last, and the breeder kept posting about her for the longest time. So part of my heart and my thoughts remained with her, and it made me question, did I bring home the wrong puppy? So essentially, I questioned myself on every front. Now, what changed things for me, and I vividly remember this, is that one day I was talking to a friend, and back then I didn't dare share any of this information with my friends or family. I mean, I was so worried about being judged or nobody would have done this, but I was worried about being shamed, which is what I was doing to myself. And I was worried about people telling me, I told you so, which again, I kept doing all of this to myself. Like, nobody would have said this to me. But yeah, I didn't share any of the struggles I was having or how overwhelmed I felt. I tried to keep it all to myself. But that one day, I remember talking to this friend who had gotten a puppy a year before I did. And I was just asking her, like, how are you doing? How's the dog? And she shared a story with me about raising her dog, and she was doing it with her husband, so she wasn't doing it solo. But she shared with me that they had days where she would just break down and start crying. And she told me how overwhelmed she felt that first year, like that entire first year, not just the first few weeks, not just the first few days, but how long that feeling of being overwhelmed lasted for her. And I was like, I've been there too. Like, that was my aha moment. That was when I realized I'm not alone. Like, maybe it's not just me. And listening to someone else's story, someone else going through this, it honestly just gave me so much hope, and it made me feel like maybe I can also push on. Like, look at how far she and her dog have made it. Maybe I can also keep going. So I didn't give up. And the other reason I didn't give up is because even when I was deep, deep in despair, and even those days where I was just crying my eyes out and I felt like I'm making no progress whatsoever, I still knew deep in my heart that Spike was perfect. Like, against all odds, the universe gave me Blue Boy. I genuinely believed I manifested this puppy because despite everything and despite being fourth on the waiting list and despite him clearly standing out amongst the litter, I went home with Blue Boy. So I couldn't mess that up. Like, I genuinely felt like I was the chosen one. And that also helped me keep going. I felt a responsibility and I felt like there's no going back. Now, Spike and I did not form a magical bond or connection right away. If I'm honest with you, which I don't even know if I should be, but if I'm honest with you, it took probably 2 years. Like, it was only around his second birthday or so where the connection felt rock solid. And if you know me or him today, like, you know, him and I are joined at the hip. Like, we have the same mind, the same heart. You cannot separate us. I'm not sure what the science is behind this. Like, maybe at that 2 year mark, his hormones changed or his teenage years changed something. Or maybe I finally learned how to communicate with him. But it took the longest time for us to get each other. Anyways, I'm sharing my embarrassing TMI story with you today in the hopes that if anyone else is going through this, I want you to know you're not alone. I know people don't share this much, and the stories that we hear are all positive about how the owner and their dog bond right away and there's this magical connection between them. But that's not the story for all of us. I mean, Spike is one of the most important things in my life, and I know that he loves me more than anything else. But that took effort. It took a lot of patience on both of our ends, and it took a lot of training, which is what this channel is all about. Practical training and navigating everyday life with our pups. So if you haven't already done so, be sure to subscribe and join our community here on YouTube. We also have an Instagram page. Send us a message. We'd love to connect with you. And if you could resonate with this video, let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you in the next one. Bye for now.